It's not adding more years. It's not chasing some perfect version of ourselves as we get older, but being intentional with the years that we have left. Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Vecchi, and welcome to No Roles, No Rules, Just You. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine if it's after 5, and let's have a conversation. Do you ever look up from your day and think, wait, how is it Thursday again? Because I swear, wasn't it just Monday? And this week I had one of those moments. I just wrapped up this week's YouTube episode. I promised myself I was going to get outside every day, walk more, and finally drink more water. And I just finished vacuuming up my Chocolate Lab Griffin's daily tumbleweed of hair for what feels like the 100th time this week. And somehow it's Thursday and I'm standing here in my kitchen holding a fork. Griffin is laying down on the floor next to me. You can't see him, patiently waiting because he knows something involving food always happens here in the kitchen. And I'm thinking, how did I get here already with this fork? And that got me thinking, where does the time go? And maybe you've noticed that too. Doesn't it feel like time is like moving faster? It's picked up speed. When I was younger, a week could feel like forever. Summer vacations felt endless. And waiting for Christmas morning, that felt like 3 years. And now I blink and somehow, much to my husband's annual eye roll, I'm pulling out the holiday decorations again. Actually, I'm pretty sure, didn't I just put those away? There's a point in life where time stops feeling like this long road trip with scenery and starts feeling like one of those airport moving walkways where suddenly we're just there. You didn't remember walking that far, but here you are at gate 42 wondering, did I even have lunch? And the strange part is, when we were younger, time really did seem to move slower. So what changed? The answer is, time itself didn't change. The way we experience time changed. Here's what's interesting. Researchers, of course there's researchers in here, have found that our brains actually experience time differently when we're creating new memories. And time feels shorter when our days start to look the same. Let me say that in Sandy language. When your days start looking like the day before and the day before, the replay, your brain basically says, already got this file, no need to save a new version. And it starts compressing time. So instead of feeling like 7 separate days, the week becomes this big blur. Coffee, emails, errands, appointments, trying to remember why, well, if you're like me, why you walked into a room, and suddenly it's Thursday. How did that happen? Now, I love a good routine more than anyone, I really do. My morning coffee, non-negotiable unless you want a crabby person. My walks, something I generally look forward to every day. My journaling and quiet time, those have become some of the most meaningful parts of my day. But here's the thing about routine. Routine gives us stability. It gives us comfort. But it can also make time disappear. Because when every day looks like the last, similar, our brains stop recording all the little details. Think about it. If I asked you, hey, what did you do last Tuesday? You might say, honestly, I have no idea. I did stuff. Well, that's not a memory. That's a vibe. And when life becomes a collection of stuff, it starts to feel like it's moving faster. Now let's add another layer to this, our attention. We live in a world today where everything is competing for our attention, our focus. Notifications, emails, news alerts, social media, and those group texts that should have been one simple message, but somehow turned into a 47-message discussion about who's bringing the rolls on Saturday. Our attention is constantly being pulled in a different direction. And every time we switch focus, our brains have to reset. So instead of fully experiencing an hour, we experience fragments of that hour. A few minutes checking an email, a few minutes scrolling, a few minutes thinking about something we forgot to do, a few minutes wondering while we're in the kitchen holding this fork with a patiently waiting dog staring at me. And suddenly, an hour is gone. It's not stolen, it's not lost, it's just scattered like glitter. But unlike glitter, it doesn't make really anything prettier. There's actually a fascinating concept called memory density. Basically, the more unique moments our brains store, the longer period of time feels when we look back on it. That's why childhood summers seemed like they lasted forever. Every day had something new, new experiences, new places, new people, new adventures. Even those moments when you thought, this probably isn't a good idea, but you did it anyway. Like soaping the neighbor's windows on Devil's Night? Yeah. Side note, I was raised with 3 hellion brothers who were always talking me into something, usually something I probably shouldn't have done. Anyway. Now, as adults, our lives often become very efficient, very predictable, very scheduled. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But predictable doesn't always create memorable. And when we look back, our brains don't remember every ordinary Tuesday. We remember the moments that stood out, the moments that made us laugh, the moments that challenged us, the moments where we were fully present. Now let's talk about something else that happens as we get older. Because yes, aging does play a role in how we experience time. Not because something is wrong with us, but because each year becomes a smaller percentage of the life we have already lived. When you're 10, 1 year feels enormous. Think about it, it's 10% of your entire life. When you're in your 60s, like me, that same year represents a much smaller piece of your story. So our brains naturally experience time differently. It feels compressed, it feels faster. But here's the important part. That doesn't mean life is actually speeding up. It means our awareness of time is changing. And that is something we can influence. Let me say that again. That is something you, me, we can influence. Because I think the bigger question isn't really, why does time feel so fast now as we age? The deeper question is, am I actually present for the time I have? Because I've noticed something. People our age rarely say, I don't have enough time. What they usually say is, where did the time go? And those are two very different questions. One is about quantity, and the other is about presence, quality. And presence is where time expands again. And this question has become very personal for me, because for a long time I thought my life was pretty much mapped out, had it all planned. I had spent 33 years building a career. I'd raised kids. They're grown. I spent decades taking care of all my responsibilities that come with being an adult. And when I retired, I thought I had finally reached the finish line, stepped off the treadmill, so to speak. I remember thinking, okay, now what? But life has a funny way of asking us questions that we weren't really expecting. My husband's health crisis, his leukemia, became one of those moments that made me stop and really look at my life, look at time. Not just the things I had accomplished, but the person I still wanted to become. And one of the biggest questions I had to ask myself was, am I truly living the life I want, or am I just moving through my days? That question changed everything, because I realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life just watching time go by, pass. I wanted to be intentional about how I spent it. And that's really where this whole idea of the third act began for me. Not because I had everything figured out. Oh God, no, not even close. But because I realized I still had a lot of living I still wanted to do, left to do. And I think that's true for all of us. We reach the stage of life and say, I can't believe how fast it went. And I understand that, I really do. But maybe this season of life isn't about trying to stop time. Maybe it's about learning how to notice it. Because there is a huge difference between living on autopilot day after day, same old thing, and living awake inside your own life. And that's what this third act is about. It's not adding more years. It's not chasing some perfect version of ourselves as we get older, but being intentional with the years that we have left. So here's my challenge for you this week. Do one thing differently, just one. Break the pattern, the routine. Create a memory. Be fully present for a moment, because the goal isn't to cram more into your life. The goal is to actually feel your life while it's happening, because time isn't really speeding up. But life does have a way, it does, of slipping, blurring away. So maybe the real question isn't, where does the time go? Maybe the question is, what am I doing with the time I have left? Because the truth is, sorry, we can't slow time down, but we can become more intentional about how we experience it. And maybe that's what this stage of life is really about. Not trying to get more time, but making sure we're fully present with the time we have. Maybe that's why I'm standing in my kitchen with a fork and a dog waiting for a snack and wondering how it's Thursday already. Because those ordinary moments, those are the moments we're actually living. So live them. Until next time, remember, the best part of your story isn't behind you. It's the third act you're writing right now. So give yourself permission to ask new questions, to dream new dreams, to become more of the person you've always been, beneath the titles, the responsibilities, and the roles. Because this isn't, the end of your story. It's the beginning of the most meaningful act of your life. No roles, no rules, just you.